Welcome to TimSold Talks. Join us as we dive into all things real estate, talk about business, food, cars, and much more with industry experts. Dream it, believe it, achieve it. Welcome back to another episode of TimSold Talks. I'm very honored to have Coach Chris Smallings here from Addison Prep School. Thank you very much for coming and joining us, Coach.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
Yeah, no, fascinating story. I'd love to share that with everyone. But before we begin, we just have a good quick shout out to our sponsors, Eatable Popcorn. Their claim to fame was this past summer or this past Oscar season. They were in the goodie bags, and all the celebrities and all the A-listers had them in the goodie bags, giveaway bags here. Very, very successful Canadian homegrown story, and very proud of them because they've got some big partnerships on the way and signed and inked, and happy to help them release that in the future. But yeah, please try some. Sure. All right, Coach, for our audience listening out there, for those that don't know you, can you just give us, kind of a brief background about yourself and how you got into basketball and where you're going right now?
Sure. Before I do, these are very tasty and actually
they're really good, right? Yeah.
Definitely good.
Try the other one too.
Yeah.
The strawberries champagne one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Again, thanks for having me on the program.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Got into coaching, my background starts, I'm a very proud guy from Scarborough.
Yeah.
Okay. From the ends, Scarborough raised.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the Kingston and Galloway area of Scarborough.
Mm-hmm.
We had the famous Galloway gym, 4301 Kingston Road. Mm-hmm. A lot of legends came. I was introduced to the game in grade 7.
Okay, wow.
And got a lot of support, from the most amazing parents in the world. Clifton and Mavis Smalling, get a shout them out.
Yeah.
And my wonderful brothers. And there's been so many people from that community that have sort of raised me and more importantly, taught me the values of giving back. Mm-hmm. And so I really got into it. I loved the game, but understood the importance of giving it back or paying it forward, and that's where we are today.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you must have played a lot of basketball when you're younger. And
I played tons of basketball, played against legends like Phil Dixon and Alex Beeson and other basketball players. Yeah. And so I played throughout high school. Okay. At the time, we didn't have a lot of great opportunities to get to university. Mm-hmm. Defensive stopper, I wouldn't put myself in the legendary category as others, but I loved the game. I worked extremely hard, and so I could relate to a lot of players that are in that same situation. Just have a passion for the game, work hard, and that's what I did.
And the basketball landscape back then was very different from what we have it now, right? I think with explosion of all the different rep programs and prep programs and AAU circuits. Can you talk about some of that? Or
I can. Back then, a person going to Division I even was unheard of. Yeah. I remember being at Cedar Brae and Eric Hammond, college stretch, UConn actually came out to see him play. Oh, wow. And they invited players from everywhere in Scarborough. Yeah. And I must have won 300 players in the gym. And literally, he might have touched the ball twice. Yeah. So it's just there. Right now, there are so many programs, so many rep programs, so many prep schools. Basketball has really grown in the country. Once the Raptors came up, and shout out to Vince Carter, and what he's done. Yeah. But it's introduced a lot of young people, I came from Jamaica when I was 7 years old. I grew up playing hockey at first and baseball. I was introduced to basketball fairly late at 12 years old. Yeah. Once I was introduced to it, we fell in love with it. Yeah. And the other thing about basketball is everyone was watching it in high school in the gym. Yeah. So it made it popular. I've seen the way basketball has grown. In the community, in the city. Yeah. A lot of newcomers even to Canada, gravitate to the excitement, of basketball. And so I'm proud, to see where it is right now.
And the different, like you speak about, newcomers to the country, Canada being so multicultural, I think it's got a broadened reach for basketball too. Whereas primarily back then it was more of a North American sport and not as widely accepted. But could you talk about some of that to some of the kids that you see, or?
If you, I had the opportunity to to go to Senegal a few times.
Yeah.
And to see how basketball has grown, as you mentioned, internationally.
Yeah.
So the game has changed. Shout out to the original Dream Team,
Yeah.
and what they've done, minus Isaiah Thomas, my favorite, but what they've really done. If you look at the NBA now, even the MVPs, they're not American. They're non-American players.
Yeah.
How many people have entered the sport in the international flavor that's created? So before, it was the NBA was American players and a few Europeans.
Yep.
Now the NBA is such an international game. The good thing about basketball, you don't need much. It's similar to soccer. You just need a basketball, you need a hoop, and then you're ready to go. Whereas different sports, maybe football, hockey, different sports, you may need more equipment and things that people can't afford. So I feel like basketball right now is for the poor man, for the poor woman, sport, and the excitement of basketball, also the dunks, the 3-point shots, just everything.
The fast pace of the game,
brings people to the game.
Yeah. When you say it's a poor man's sport, but my son's going through it right now. But you see the new age of athletes now with their nutritional plan and strength and conditioning and additional skills development. That was never around when we were playing before, right? Or not as much too.
With technology and with sports, you see it in LeBron James.
Yeah.
As well, and how long he's been able to play, and again Vince Carter and many others.
Yeah.
We're learning a lot about the sport.
Yeah.
When I played, we didn't have much, and the Raptors weren't even around really at that time. So we'd watch D1 basketball, Big East, and then whatever we saw them do on TV, we did also.
Yeah.
We didn't have too many people to sit us down and say, this is how you do a jab step, this is how you follow through on your shot. Fast forward to now, there's so many coaches, and I had the opportunity to work the prestigious 5-star basketball camp and be at the Nike clinics.
Okay.
And Hubie Brown said years ago that the difference between America and Canada is there's so many teachers in America, and Canada didn't have as many. Now, Canada has a lot of people that have played at that level and have come back to give their knowledge and experience. And so many of the kids are benefiting from the guys that have gone away and the girls that have gone away and have come back and decided to invest in these kids.
Yeah, no, the rise of Canadian basketball has been on a tremendous trajectory, right? Could you speak to some of that, or do you know many of the Team Canada?
For sure.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to coach Corey Joseph and his brother DeVoe Joseph at Pickering Iron in high school, along with Ron Parfit and his dad David Joseph, just incredible human beings. And I was speaking to Corey once and telling him, like, before him and Tristan really made it, not a lot of kids were making it. Not a lot of kids were getting out.
Yeah.
They're one of the first ones to actually go to prep school in America as well.
Oh, yeah?
Which wasn't happening before. His brother DeVoe played his entire basketball career in Canada. Javal Miles was our head coach also at Jazz and played in Canada. So it wasn't a thing. When you won an OFSA championship back then, it was a real championship because nobody left.
Yeah.
Going down to the States, what it did was it opened up that Americans knew that Canadians can also play basketball. There was a time when you said Canada and they were like hockey and Wayne Gretzky, and basketball was never a thing.
Yeah.
So just to see the rise of these kids that have come along and where the game is today, I remember the first time I heard of Shea Gilles Alexander, and he was playing for UPlay at the time, and we actually played against the team, and they had Shea, they had Brissett that won the championship with Boston on the team, and we were advantage basketball, and we played against them, and we ended up beating them. But the coach came to me and he said, "We're missing 2 guys. We're missing Shea and Brissett," and I had no clue who they were at the time, and I said, "It doesn't matter. We would have beat the bricks off you guys anyways." And then I saw them play. So I think that you could see how the game has changed, how many of our Canadian kids, it goes a long way also to AAU. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of AAU because I believe kids should be training more in the summer than playing, but there's a place for AAU. And with AAU, it's gotten our kids a lot of exposure. And for them to play against U.S. kids, I think Canada years ago, they were trying to emulate Australia because they figured we were similar in population and Australia was successful. And I thought it was the silliest thing because we live right beside America,
US, yeah.
and so that's been put away, thank God.
Yeah.
And Canada now has the most players in the NBA outside of the U.S.
Oh, wow.
And there's a reason for that. We benefit from being so close, but also the people that are in basketball now know what they're doing and understand what it takes to get to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, speaking of, Team Canada, like I think the Olympics was a kind of an eye opener for the Canadians there to see how many NBA rosters players were on the Team Canada. It was prior to this year, I think a lot of them was maybe just a handful or one or two, but this year, most of the roster was made up of NBA players.
It was, so the president of the Canada Basketball, Ron Barrett, I actually went to high school with
Oh,
him.
yeah?
We went
Wow.
to high school together,
Yeah.
also, and just to see what they've done, bringing the kids and not only them, but everyone, whether it's agents, whether it's coaches that are involved in some of these guys playing.
Yeah.
At a point, one, it was very hard to get guys to commit. And two, they didn't really look at the kids from the inner city as much.
Okay.
So they'd have players from everywhere, and I found guys from Toronto were slighted a lot. But you can't do that anymore because when you looked at the team, there's so many guys from the GTA and guys that played AU together. And now they want to play for Canada.
Yeah.
And that's also a big thing because America's always had this U.S. pride.
Yeah.
And we didn't have it as much in Canada. So now you see the guys, they're honored, to put on the red and white and get out there and compete. And even though we didn't do as well as, we thought we should or everyone thought we did, we put the world on notice that there's a lot of basketball players up here and there's so much more coming.
Yeah, and I think it's been one of their best performances, even though it wasn't, the desired result, but it's still one of the best performances they've had in Olympic showing, right? I think for Team Canada. So
for sure, and then they had players that people were following, and to see their jerseys in the crowd, we've never had that before, but we have it now. And then to have Shea, for instance, MVP candidate, and to have Jamal there, they're just coming off a championship. Now we can boast. I remember when Corey brought home the championship trophy, and since then we've had others that have brought home the championship trophy. So it's a very good look.
Yeah, no, it's a bright future for Canadian basketball landscape. So
for sure,
and you're helping build part of that, I take it, right? So
we I pride myself on relationships that we've built. Kyle Johnson, that played for me at West Hill.
Oh yeah,
he's now one of the directors of performance for OBA. Skill development and performance. And as I said, Javon Shepard, that played at Michigan.
Yeah,
he's a broadcaster now. He played on Team Canada for years. He's a broadcaster. As I said, to see Corey Joseph and his brother DeVoe and many others that's played. I've had the benefit of coaching hundreds of kids, and many have gone on to play pro. Like in our organization, we have over 150 that play D1. Wow. And maybe another 30 that have played pro.
Okay.
What I pride myself most about is just the relationship with people, because if you've coached hundreds and let's say 20 have made it and you just focus on the 20, what about the other hundreds that came along? And so we pride ourselves on not only just those guys, but all the others that came up.
Yep. And I think before we got on air, you're talking about some of the work ethic that's entailed and that you need in order to get to those levels. So would you talk about some of that and the programs that you guys are running at J. Addison?
For sure.
Yeah.
So in terms of work ethic, I think people always see, and if it's like, we just had the big Taylor Swift, come to Rogers Center, but what people see, they see the performance. They see the performer. They don't see what happens backstage.
Behind the scenes,
They don't see all the hours that are put in, the sacrifice. So one, if we look at basketball, the amount of time and effort, that's one. Two, you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you're going to quit. Lady Gaga was telling a story that, she had an interview with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And when she was going into the interview, they were leaving the building. And they were with Def Jam Records at the time. And she said one of the assistants pulled her into a side room and said, listen, we listened to your stuff. They don't think you have what it takes. And so, just do something else. Music is not for you. Again, I'd like to bring it to basketball, where if you don't have a belief in your ability, in yourself, it's important that kids coming up, that they love the sport. Let them fall in love with the sport. When they're too young, I'm not too big on structure. Just let them have fun.
Yeah.
Let them go out there and train. The difference between the ones that make it and the ones that don't, well, one, you have to have God-given talents and ability. You know what I mean? If you're 5'1", and you're really athletic, your chances are more
Very
slim.
slim, yeah.
But if you have God-given abilities and what it takes, now it comes to work ethics. How early do you get up to train? How often do you train?
Yeah.
What do you eat? Do you drink sodas? Do you drink pop? Are you eating candy? Things that are going to destroy you. Do you go to bed on time so you can wake up and sleep? You could look at a Kobe Bryant or LeBron James training video, not understand that they have doctors and they have nutritionists and they're taking care of their bodies.
Yep.
Even with LeBron, you see how much hours he sleeps. So sleeping's important. And then the other thing that we always stress, put down the phones.
Yes.
Social media
Yeah.
will kill your progress in basketball. So what we like to do, we like to be the front runners, and so even at our program, we have nutritionists, we have people that come on board, we have personal trainers, just to let you know what it takes.
Yeah.
And even on top of that, you've got to work extremely hard. You've just got to fall in love with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a grind. It's like a passion that you're trying to develop out of these kids and put the work ethics along with it, right? Because everyone's got the dream of, I want to make it to the league, I want to make it to the NBA, play high-level basketball. Great, but sort of, millions of other kids, right? So what's going to make you different from, the 10 other guys that are on your team, right? And
See, you're right. And we just came off, so we do girls and boys.
okay, yeah.
Boss, that we never want to leave the ladies out.
Yeah.
And so I run the largest girls basketball tournament in the country.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it's called the Chris Smalling Girls Basketball Tournament. We've been running it for about 16 years.
Yeah.
We had about 70 Division I schools, that show up in Canadian universities.
Sending their
as well.
scouts or their coaches or
sending
yeah.
sometimes head coaches.
Yeah.
UConn has come, South Carolina has come, like everybody who's everyone. Wow. It's the largest tournament, guys or girls, in the entire country, and one of the largest in North America.
Wow. Okay.
And so from our program, Brianna Thomas, she coaches at Brown's University. Dakota White, that played at Wisconsin, and now she's the head of the Pascal Siakam Foundation. She played. Wumi played at Duquesne and was A10 Player of the Year. My daughter Shanice played at Texas, as well. So we've. I want to mention a lot of the girls also, and then transitioning to Addison and Chris Francis, who coaches the girls program, one of the best coaches in the entire country.
Nice.
I got to Addison because of him.
Yeah.
He came to me one day. He says, "Smalling, we have the girls program and we want to do a guys program, and I want to know if you're interested in the guys program." So I said, I have a couple questions. One, what's the academics like?
Yeah.
Very important to me. We want to put kids in a position to be successful, not just you're a basketball player.
Yeah.
He said the academics are good, some of the top in the country. I said, perfect. I said, what kind of leeway do we have? What I'd like to really say about Addison as a school and as a program. So back in 2000 when George Floyd happened and everybody became conscious and they wanted to help black organizations and black kids. Before that happened, Addison was ahead of the curve. Addison was helping kids from the inner city to get a private school education.
Okay.
Private schools are very expensive. It costs a lot. So Addison was saying, we understand the cost, but we're going to get kids in and we're going to pay for it or get kids in at a reduced rate.
Yep.
And so that's commendable because in this world where everything is financial, everything's about economics, we had a school that came along and said we'd help. So Addison primarily had a lot of kids from China, international kids, and what happened is some of the Chinese kids would come here and they say, man, we're in Canada, we're going to school with other Chinese kids, And so Chris Francis sat down with Addison and said, why don't we make it more cultural diverse? And that's where the basketball program came about. In order for that to happen, I said the directors and the principals and the staff at Addison, especially Luann, They've been absolutely amazing. And so they basically rolled out the red carpet for these kids that are coming in. So we had kids now that are playing Division One basketball. And the other thing about Addison is the academic support that they get. Some programs get the kids there, they don't care about the academics. It's just basketball.
Yeah.
At Addison, and I would say Addison's a throwback to like Addison can survive in the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just one of those things where respect still matters. When you get into the school, you're expected to say good morning or hello or thank you. And we appreciate that because once we have kids in programs, we don't want them to think it's just basketball.
Yeah.
We had a kid that came from Alberta. His mom called me. She said, my son is 12 years old. We're from South Sudan. He's 6'7". I got excited right away. I said, bring him over. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So he came,
Yeah.
he was actually about 6'8".
Okay.
Played ball with us. Early, we saw that he didn't really have the skills it took to play basketball. He was okay. He ended up losing 30 pounds. Our trainer, Joel Kerr, Dr. J, is amazing. But the incredible part about it, and the reason I tell the story, the main part about that, Teak didn't get a basketball scholarship, but he's at the University of Windsor. He got into university and he's doing great things.
Nice.
That's the side to Addison that it's not just about basketball. If we go to the basketball side, our girls program is one of the top 3 most successful programs in the entire country. And there's one year we had 5 or 6 girls that went D1 as well too. And so Chris Francis does a good job. We had a young man by the name of Ibram Asako, came from Guinea. So what Addison did, not only were they helping kids in the community, not only were they helping black kids in the community, but then they said we're an international school. So then we started helping kids from all over the world. And so we have kids from Africa.
Yeah.
So Ibram Asako came over from Guinea. Absolutely incredible. He was the best player in the country. He got invited to the prestigious Hoop Summit that they have out in Portland.
Yeah.
He got tons of offers, settled on Georgia Tech. So I was on the visit with him, went to Georgia Tech where Damon Stoudemire, Mighty Mouse, is the head coach. And so one night I got a phone call and the guy said, hey, this is Damon Stoudemire. You're smiling. And I was like, oh my God, Damon Stoudemire is calling me, right? And what are the chances?
Yeah.
My wife wasn't feeling well, so I was in the process of bringing tea upstairs, and I thought, man, Damon Stoudemire or tea, but I don't live with Damon Stoudemire, I live with my wife, So I said, Damon, can I call you back tomorrow? And he said, sure, so I told my wife, I went upstairs, said, that was Damon Stoudemire. She's like, you should have taken the call. Before I got a chance to call him back, he called me back. And he said, we really want Ibram Asako at our school. Can you guys come down? So we flew down on the visit.
Nice.
And he did say something which I appreciate. He said one of the worst decisions he's made was leaving Toronto. And I was like, I'm happy to hear you say that.
Yeah.
And I was telling him when the draft happened,
Yeah.
I didn't want Damon Stoudemire. I wanted Ed O'Bannon at the time, but Damon Stoudemire turned out to be incredible. So Ibram Asako benefited. And when he came to Advantage to Addison, his academics were okay. He left Addison with great academics, and then we had Ibram Asako that had offers from Oregon and BYU and other programs as well too. We've had kids that have gone to Carleton and different universities, and so Addison made it possible, and just the infrastructure things they have in place. So we have Javal Miles. He's our head coach. Javal played at Kansas State for Frank Martin.
Oh, wow.
He played on our junior national Canadian team.
Yeah.
So, played at South Dakota. Big time player.
Yeah.
We had Jason Calise, who played at Oregon as well. Now he's one of the coaches at Oregon. He was on our coaching staff. Jelani Matthews, that runs I Can Ball, one of the top trainers in the country, works at NBA Guys. He's on our coaching staff. Wow. Dr. Joel Kerr, that has worked a little bit with the Raptors and does a lot of different things in a lot of the professional basketball leagues in Canada. He's on our staff. Bob Messam, that ran some of the Canadian training programs, Candy Lawson, Wilton Halls. We give the players the best. Not only are they basketball coaches, but they're good human beings. They're mentors. we really try and get the best out of our players.
Yeah.
And so we've created a program through J. Addison. We started out, nobody knew who we were, and they didn't know where J. Addison was.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, we had a player that literally lived at Woodbine and 16th, and he didn't know where J. Addison was. Like, we passed the building all the time.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people know. So even last year, we won the True North Championship. So there were 3 championships: OSBA, which Royal Crown won,
Yeah.
NPA, which is the North Pole Hoop guys, in which Fort Erie won, and then J. Addison won the True North.
Nice.
And so you could see the level. We played in the prestigious EIBC League last year in America, and had a record of 11-4.
Whoa.
You know, so we're
against the U.S.
That's against the
schools,
U.S.
Yeah.
We had 5 guys that got scholarships to the U.S. last year.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, so being in Markham and just changing the landscape of what we do. So so now everybody knows J. Addison.
Yep.
As I mentioned, I was in Senegal last year, and I was there the year before, and that's where the NBA Academy is. And so I was there last year. Now it's at a point where a lot of the African programs know J. Addison. Not only do they know J. Addison, but they prefer J. Addison. You know, and so you see when you have support, when you have good people around you, this is what happens. And I think, as I said, I'm really grateful for what J. Addison offers and what they've created.
Yeah.
You know, in such a short time at the school.
No, it sounds like a very positive and giving back community, and you know, it sounds like you got the dream team there, the support staff and coaches. So kudos to that, and amazing to hear your journey there. And how long has it been that you've been with J. Addison now?
This is the 6th year.
6 years. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that we've been with J. Addison, and every year we've grown. This year we've taken some lumps.
Yep.
A lot of our guys have graduated. We have a really young team, maybe the youngest team in the entire country.
Okay.
So some of the teams
talent,
that
right?
we've been beating up for years are so happy now, but you know, we're always reloading.
Yeah.
And we do have some kids, you know, that have come over as well too, with a lot of potential, a lot of prospects.
Yeah.
And once they get here, it's just the transition.
Transition, right? Yeah.
The other piece of work ethics. You know, if you're not going to work hard, if you're there to just mess around, then it's not a program for you. It's not a school for you. When I recruit kids to come to J. Addison, and we have a saying now that we don't recruit players, we recruit families. Once we do that, I'm on the phone for at least an hour, sometimes 2 hours. In that time, I'll talk about basketball for maybe 15 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
Then we talk about character, because people miss out on that. There's so many. Michigan State came to my tournament, and the head coach told me at the time on the girls program, said we were recruiting a kid, and then we went on her Instagram, and then we stopped recruiting her. What people don't understand is that everything matters. The internet is written in ink.
Yeah.
You know, and even though you've deleted it, you know, it's still, we see it with famous people in tweets.
Yeah.
You know, even though you've deleted it, it comes
forget.
back.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to raise good human beings with character and value.
Yeah.
No one could ever take that away from you. I got a call last week from 2 of the colleges we sent kids, and they said, you guys have sent us the most amazing kids. They're focused on academics. They're the hardest working in practice.
Yeah.
They're mature. These are the things that make me feel proud.
That's the reward, right?
That is the reward, because you're not going to have a lot of kids that actually make it to the NBA or to WNBA. You know, it's a dream. It's a boyhood, it's a girlhood dream. But you're going to be able to impact lives. You know, that you've changed lives. We had a kid that got into York University in their prestigious business program last year.
Okay.
These things matter. And in the last 6 years, our academic average has been 84%.
Wow.
And last year was 89%.
Nice.
So every last one of our players graduated as Ontario scholars.
Yeah. That's
So
amazing.
we're really proud of that. You know, the basketball piece to me is easy. We've put the people in place that do an amazing job. You know, as I said, Chris Francis and Dale on the girl side and a whole bunch of us on the guy side
Yeah.
do an amazing job in terms of development. But if you don't have the academic piece and you don't have the character, then the bottom all falls out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's student athlete. Right? I think I've seen some other coaches use that term. It's like student first, then athlete. There's a second piece to it, and you need to balance both, right, to
Yeah.
make it a successful
And
career.
even if you go to the next level, whether you sport or NCAA, you still have to maintain your average in order to play.
Yeah.
So we want them to know that, and we don't want to sell them pipe dreams that don't exist.
Yeah, no, that's a great advice there for anyone listening, because a lot of kids or the younger audience, they just feel like, oh, basketball is the only thing, right? So they don't realize that's a full circle, it's a full package that.
And my
Yeah.
advice for parents that are looking for prep schools, the good and bad is now in Canada, there's so many prep schools. And the analogy I give is if you wind down if you open your window in your house and you take off your shoes and throw it outside, you're going to hit a prep school. There's so many prep schools that exist now. So
Yeah.
how does a parent navigate through that? How do they decide? They've never been through this before. Everybody's giving them the song and dance.
Yeah.
I'd say one, who attended that school? What is their reputation like academically
Yeah.
in terms of character? Two, what basketball players have been there? Where are they now? And once they've gone away, if they stayed there, are they transferring a whole bunch of different times? Be with coaches. Like, we pride ourselves on never lying to parents, to kids. We don't promise scholarships
Yeah.
because we're unable to deliver that at the next level. So be leery of coaches that say they can.
Guarantee, yeah.
We never promise playing time. And this is what separates us a lot. Coaches say, come here, you're going to be the guy, we're going to put the ball in your hand, you're going to be the girl. We don't make those promises. We tell you, if you come here and you work really hard, you'll get an opportunity. And you'll take that opportunity, and maybe you'll get another opportunity. And we know that you'll be mentored. And we know that if you work hard, you'll get into a university, and we'll leave the rest up to you. So I think it's important for parents, because a lot of things now is a money grab, unfortunately. And I don't want to say there aren't good programs, because there's very good programs. There's programs that are doing things the right way. And then there's programs that are not. So parents, please do your research before your daughter or son commits to a school.
Yeah. And how would you give advice to parents that are trying to do research? Like, do they contact the coaches or the school, or how look at the socials, or how would they best do that?
That's a great question. I would say go on to the school's website.
Okay.
That eliminates some schools right off the bat, because they don't have a website.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yeah.
They don't have a website. So go onto the school's website and not just basketball, see what things are about. And then if you know anybody that goes to that school, speak to them,
The students,
see what their experience has been like. I remember I started out in the financial field working for TD, and I got a chance to see Michael Lee Chin speak when I was a TD. And he said when he's going to purchase property or anywhere else, he goes into that building and he goes undercover, and he speaks to the caretakers, and he speaks to the staff, and he speaks to people like that. I say the same thing applies. You know, if you're going to talk to a coach, he's going to tell you how great his program is. She's going to tell you how great her program is.
Yeah.
But instead, if you know anybody that's at the school, you know, or you can stop by or speak to someone, I think that's the best way to do it. So do the research, and then everybody has Instagram right now, but everybody's going to show the good.
Stuff.
It's like history, you know. The victors write history. You know what I mean? And so you're getting it from that standpoint. So Instagram, they're good, but they're going to show you. If you ever see training videos of kids and it's posted, you think they never miss shots. I'm like, why would you show that they made 8 threes in a row? You know, even if they did, show that the progression as well too. So speak to others that have attended if you know. If not, you know, Google it, and there's tons of reviews
and,
as well too, and reviews are very big.
Yeah.
So that's the approach I
Yeah.
take.
No, that's similar to our own business where, Google reviews, our client testimonies, everything is all about, the positive feedback, right? Because what you post on social is your chosen snapshot of what you want to show people, right?
Correct.
So may not always be, that's a general warning for the audience, right? It may never be the real story or the whole full story, right? So,
And how long you're gonna stay and exist, is gonna come down to that.
yeah.
And if you're gonna build a proper foundation, it goes right back to everything. And it goes back to the athlete.
Yeah.
What's your foundation? The other thing we do at J. Addison at the beginning, it's how you measure success. What does success look like for you? Is success winning a championship? Is success getting kids recruited? Is success academics? It's important for us how we measure success.
Yeah.
And so know how you measure success, because what success looks like to us may look different to somebody else. Because if you just set it up on winning, 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 there's only one team that wins. What happens to the rest? You throw everything away.
Yeah.
For kids that are coming up and want to be great basketball players, enjoy the journey. Don't just look to the end results.
Yeah.
People look to the end results and they don't enjoy the journey. Dr. Martin Luther King says, when you see the staircase, take it one step at a time. Don't look at the first step and then try and see the end.
Yeah.
So with everything else, with training, with development, with accomplishing your goals, enjoy the journey, because there's great. I read Jay-Z one time and he was talking about, he says, I cannot tell you one thing success has taught me, but I can tell you 1,000 things that failure has. People have to realize failure is a part of the journey, and sometimes it's better because in failing, it tells you don't do it this way.
Yeah.
I was telling our student athletes about the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They invented the plane.
The plane,
Everybody thought, they laughed, and said it wasn't going to happen. The first time they built a plane, obviously didn't fly over the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It takes time. So never give up. Have a plan. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
And student athletes, we always stress the importance of appreciating parents, guardians, and those in your life. We live in an era right now where people are so ungrateful. They seem entitled. We've had players that have played on our junior national team that have wanted to come to Addison, and I've said no.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
just because once we spoke to them or the families, just the expectations and our goals didn't line up.
Okay.
So it's not just you're the best basketball player, we'll take you. There's other things. And as I said before, how we measure success might be different than the way a lot of programs measure success. And if you decide that I'm going to lose weight and you jump on the scale the next day, you're not going to see the results maybe you want. If you're working out in a gym, on the first day, you're not going to see the results. But enjoy the journey and take notes. Write a journal, put things down, set goals, and then have people that will help you through that. And as I said, for parents, again, parents, if your kids are playing basketball, my advice to you, at the end of a game, don't get in the car and tell them everything they did wrong. It's a recipe for disaster. Get in the car and support them. One of my sons, played soccer and he wasn't the greatest, and I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying this. I don't know. But he wasn't the greatest, but at the end of every game, I had him on my shoulder. We went for ice cream. I told him how amazing he was, because you don't want to ruin your relationship with your child over a sport. The sport won't last too long. And I've known a lot of parents that have done damage without even knowing that. Imagine performing really bad in a game in the car ride. You're just being reminded. Imagine in life, every time you messed up, you have somebody sitting beside you to tell you, you messed up. Just, encouraging words, to kids, really encourage them. Positive reinforcement is important. You're not their coach. Even if you coach. I coach at Centennial College, and I'd go to my son's games, and he'd play, and I wouldn't say a word. And then people are like, aren't you a college coach? I'm a parent first. And at the end of the day, I'd just say, how's your day otherwise? And how did things go? And we took it this way. So a lot of parents, they think they're doing a good job, but you're actually destroying, your child. So just tell them to stick to it. Do your best. You did it. point out the positives more than you point out the negatives. And that's important. And especially dads,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm a dad myself. So especially dads, people live vicariously through their kids.
Yes.
And they want it so bad for them. But again, just encourage them, love them, you know, and that's very important.
No, great words of advice. I'm going to have to listen to that over and repeat myself. So thank you for the reminder, Coach.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so as we're starting to wrap up, there's two questions we always like to ask for fun, to our guests. And the first question is, what's the one feature you'd like in your dream house? Or do you already have it?
So the most important part of my home is the kitchen.
Yes. Okay.
You know, it's the kitchen. And so having an island and things around it.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're in our kitchen almost as much as we're in our living room.
Yeah.
You know, and so we have it set up where we can watch TV from there. My family's very big on conversation.
Yes.
We never shut up. You know, we're a throwback old school family that I was doing a teaching seminar once and they were talking about teaching out of circles.
Okay.
And one teacher said, you know, it's easy. Why are we even teaching that? This is what people do. They eat around the table at home. And I was like, this is not how the world exists anymore. You know, mom is somewhere, dad is somewhere, kid is eating and on their phone.
Yeah.
So with our family, when it comes to dinner time and getting together, it's a very conversation piece. So for us, it's the kitchen. You know, and in the kitchen, you know, to have a nice island and a place that we can sit
people
down
congregate and
relax,
and
you know, and we can still watch TV, you know, from there.
Yeah. All right. That's not too hard. That's not too hard to find. I'll find it for you if you're listening to that. And the second question we'd like to ask: what's the one type of food you could eat for the rest of your life? So obviously, do you cook yourself a lot, or does your family cook? Yeah.
Truth be told, in the summer, I do most of the cooking because I'm off school and I'm a big barbecue guy.
Okay.
During the year, my wife cooks a lot and does a fabulous job.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Jamaican.
Okay.
And we pride ourselves on Jamaican food. So if I could eat one thing for the rest of it, would be Jamaican food, but primarily brown stew snapper. With what we call ground provision, which is like yams and dumplings and things like that. You could give me that for the rest of my life, and I'd be extremely happy.
Apart from home cooking, is there a restaurant or you can give a shout out to, or someone that does a good stew?
I go to restaurants for different things. There's a restaurant on Kingston Road called Times. Makes amazing curry goat and oxtail. You know, and I think they do an amazing job. So yeah, definitely shout them out.
We'll give them a shout out. So all right. Okay, so pretty much that wraps up this week's episode of TimSold Talks. Thank you very much, Coach Chris, for coming and sharing your journey and sharing your life experiences and giving that great word of advice to all the kids and our audience out there for achieving their dreams and the work ethic that's entailed with it. Where can they find you if they want to reach out to you, and where can they find your socials, or just hear more and follow up with
just
you?
A few things. We have Addison Basketball on Instagram. You know, they could find us there. As I said, I always give a shout out to the girls, and so if you type in Chris Smalling girls basketball tournament as well, you'll find us there also, and that's where the journey would start.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. And we'll make sure to put all the links in the bio so everyone can find you and reach out to you. If you enjoyed today's episode and looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you know who to call. But if you're looking to get more coaching advice, Coach Chris is the one to give a like and follow.
Appreciate it.
Please give us a 5-star review on Spotify. And remember, guys, dream it, believe it, achieve it. It's a beautiful day to sell homes. Thank you very much for listening.
Amazing.
Thank you, Coach Chris. Thank you. Hi, I'm Tim Kern, and I proudly lead the TimSold team. We're voted as one of the top 3 brokerages in Markham, and we will sell your house fast and for top dollar with the least amount of hassle, or we guarantee to buy it. Call us today and start packing.